And a very good evening to you. Welcome to Politics 101. We're a little bit early tonight. So bear with us. We're a little bit early tonight. We're starting early tonight because we want to finish a little bit early. I have another engagement at 7:30. So we are starting early. Welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to Politics 101 on Wednesday evening, our midweek edition. And we're expecting Apostle London to stop by tonight, and we are going to be chatting about the issues in the news. Welcome to Politics 101. We have a flurry of visits to Guyana. Former President of the United States, Bill Clinton, visited. I think he might have left today. We had last week the spy chief, the CIA head, the American CIA head. He visited, and of course the French Prime Minister came and visited, and the French are going to open an embassy in Guyana. Welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to all of you. As I said, we're starting a little bit early tonight. We're starting early tonight because I have another program at 7:30. Good evening. William is joining us from Toronto, Canada, Ontario. It must be cold out there. This is March. So it will be still cold in Canada. Welcome Brenda Braffett, Louise Chapman, Marcia Fordyce, Cheryl Wharton. Welcome to Politics 101. Yes, we're a little bit early tonight. Welcome to Politics 101. A few things caught my eye today. The comments made by Bill Clinton, President Clinton, made some comments. He was asked by a reporter from Kaitro News about the contract, and of course he didn't criticize the contract, but he said that we have to spend what we get wisely. And that was a big hint. As they say, hint benimo me kwashiba take notice. He was hinting at the issue that many of us in the opposition and civil society has been raising. And that is the issue of how the government is distributing the resources. Bill Clinton said, spend it wisely. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening to all of you. August, Conrad, Savitri Rose, welcome to Politics 101. Adrian Wellington, welcome to all of you. Please share the link and let them know we're on. We're starting half an hour early tonight because we are going to finish early. We're going to finish at around about 7:30. I have another program to do on GlobeSpan. We're going to try to see if we can stream that program here live on Politics 101. Sometimes you have to go into the territory of others in order to join the conversation. So we are going to be on that program tonight. Welcome to Politics 101. As I said, lots of visitors, and we're still awaiting the the government still has not said anything to the Rights of the Child Commission. The Rights of the Child Commission, which asked the government to explain the banning of the 2 school children from the matrimony competition. And according to the news today, they are still waiting on the government to give an explanation. They're dragging their feet. They have not given any explanation to date. Any explanation to date. Any explanation to date. The hearings before the United Nations Committee on Human Rights, riveting, and the French representative accused Mr. Shearer of paying more attention to blaming the previous government rather than talk about their stewardship. And I'm glad they were called out on that, because that's an old tactic of governments. When you confront them on their stewardship, they point to what the government before them did. In many regards, trying to justify what they're doing by saying the others did that, so why are you asking us about doing it? It's an old tactic. It's an old tactic of governments. And the PPP is very good at that. They always talk about the PNC rigged elections and the PNC rigged elections, and that is meant to hide the fact that they are rigging elections today. It's documented, the PNC rigged elections, and no party is going to come out and say we rigged elections. So you don't expect PNC members to say that. But the PNC don't put up any big fight on that. Because part of the thing is that the PNC today is not into rigging in the way the PPP is into it. The PPP said they called the PNC attempting to rig. But when the boxes were opened, it showed that the PPP actually rigged. But in trying to talk about what the previous government did, good evening to all of you. I noticed Washington, D.C. is in the house. Washington, D.C. is in the house. I noticed New Haven, Connecticut is here. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to all of you. Yes, we're starting a little bit early tonight because we are going to finish early. And Apostle London is going to join us at some point for us to talk about the issues of the day. You all notice what the Venezuelans are doing. Notice what the Venezuelans are doing. They've gone ahead in spite of the Argyle Agreement. They've gone ahead and they've passed a law making Essequibo a state of Venezuela. And our government has responded, but our government has to take responsibility, because in many regards, they have enabled the Venezuelans. They should not have gone to that meeting. Should not. Because what the Venezuelans wanted to do was to tie the Guyana government up in knots. The Venezuelan position is that the land is under dispute. The territory is under dispute. Guyana position is that there is no dispute. And if there's no dispute, then there's nothing to talk about. Talk to us. As we would say in Guyana, see you at the court. And that is what we should have been telling Venezuela. See us at the ICJ. We have nothing to talk about. We have nothing to talk about. There's no dispute. But we went there and signed that Argyle Agreement, in effect, a recognition of our weakness. Yes, militarily, we are no match for the Venezuelans. But if we do our diplomatic work, and try to win the international community on our side. That is as potent as military might. But since our government never had Venezuela on the front burner, they were caught flat-footed. I don't know how you can find all that amount of oil and gas that's being found. And with the finding of oil and gas, the big countries become involved. I do not know how, as a country, you can have that situation and don't feel that the Venezuelans would respond. Of course they will respond. And any serious government would have been prepared. We would have had our people going through the Caribbean, trying to win Caribbean governments on our side. The Venezuelans used their oil and gas to win the Caribbean leaders over to their side and be sitting on our laurels. Because we have a government that is less concerned about the national sovereignty of the country, and they're more concerned about their survival in office. And so foreign policy is not something that they're into. It's not something that they're into. If they were into foreign policy and they were taking Venezuela seriously, they would have been anticipating what Venezuela is doing. And they would have engaged in a lot of diplomacy so that when the Venezuelans would have made their move, we would have been ready. I am sure that there are other Caribbean leaders that we could woo to our side. Maybe Ralph Gonzalez and Mia Motley are far gone and they cannot be redeemed. But I'm sure there are other Caribbean leaders who we could bring to our side. I do not know that the kind of diplomacy that is needed for that is being done. There's nothing stopping us from putting together a package, a CARICOM package, from our oil and gas resources. But you see, you can't put together a CARICOM package when you don't even have a package for your own citizens. You don't have a package for the public servants. You don't have a package for teachers. You don't have a package for nurses. So obvious that you're not going to get a package for CARICOM. But we have to do economic diplomacy. We are in the position to do that. We are in the position to do that. When the United States give aid to countries around the world, you think it's because they're nice? I'm sure the Americans are nice. I'm not saying they're not nice. But when America give aid, humanitarian aid, economic aid, money, whatever they do, military aid, they're doing it in pursuit of their own interests. At the end of the day, it's America's interests. And we are now in the big league, and we have to begin to think that way. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. Yes, we started a little bit early tonight. We started a little bit early tonight because we are going to stop a little bit early, as I have another program that is starting at 7:30. So you all saw the news that the government is now recruiting nurses from Bangladesh. They're now recruiting 500 nurses from Bangladesh. 500 nurses. And they have hired a recruiting firm to do it for them. That scheme has a lot of subtext. A lot of subtext. First of all, you know, the money that you're going to pay those nurses that you are recruiting is far more than you are prepared to pay our nurses, Guyanese nurses. You have to give them a package. You have to give them allowances, housing allowance, travel allowance. They have to bring their family. So you bring in a nurse, that nurse has a wife or a husband and 5 children. You have to bring all of them. And if you take all of that money you're spending on recruiting these nurses, plus the money you're paying the company to recruit them, why not give that money as wages to the nurses you have now? What is preventing you from doing that? You're giving that money to nurses you're recruiting. What is preventing you from giving it to your own nurses? Can anybody answer that question? I am sure we all know the answer to the question. Those nurses belong to a political constituency that is not the PPP's constituency. And so the PPP is strangling them economically. And they don't care what the consequences are. Because the consequences of not paying nurses well is that some of them will go overseas, where they're paid better. Some of them will stay on the job, but they won't do a good job. And then, of course, when they go overseas, you are left with vacancies, shortage of nurses at the hospital, shortage of nurses. That's dangerous. You understand why patients are dying when they go to the hospital? Because you have shortage of nurses. Nurses are dissatisfied. You're not able to train as many nurses as you should, because young people are not going to go into a profession that is not paying. And then you close down training schools for nurses. And then you're recruiting nurses from Bangladesh. And in an ethnically sensitive society, you must know that if you're going to recruit nurses from Bangladesh, that African Guyanese and maybe Amerindian Guyanese would think that you have an ethnic reason for doing so. You can't stop them. No, I don't know. I cannot tell you I go into the leaders' heads, and I know that they are recruiting from Bangladesh for ethnic reasons. I don't know that. But given the ethnic situation in Guyana and how ethnicity is linked to elections, then it is not far-fetched to link the recruitment of Bangladeshi nurses to part of the political plan of rigging an election. I have to conclude that. So that Bangladeshi thing is loaded. It is loaded. Good evening to all of you. Good evening. Welcome to Politics 101. It's good that some of you are on early, because I forgot last night to mention that we were going to start early, but a few hundreds of you are here very early. I guess most of the people will come in at 7 o'clock. And we expect Apostle to join us. Good evening. My question, Dr. Hines, what is the unions doing about the situation? And the representative of those nurses from court is asking that question. Court, unions have been weakened in Guyana. And the weakening has come from, we have to see it from two angles. The government has weakened unions, and governments all over the world have sided with capital over labor, and so they've weakened labor unions. And in some respect, the union leaders have either acquiesced to the weakening of the unions, or have been helpless. So the unions are no longer as militant as they used to be. Unions are no longer as militant as they used to be. They've been beaten up by the governments, and some of them have acquiesced. Some of them have given up. You take a union like the Public Service Union. After the arbitration award in 1999 by the Armstrong Arbitration Committee, the government has literally killed the Public Service Union. But if we look at it from another way, where is the fight from the union? Where is the fight back from the union? Where's the fight back from the union? And I think that is what a lot of people are asking. It's two ways. Unions get beaten up, but unions are expected to fight back. And so the unions are in very bad shape. That is why the teachers' action was so heroic. And that is why I was disappointed, slightly disappointed, when some of our people said that the teachers lost. You know, teachers didn't lose. The teachers were coming up against an anti-union government. So long as the union is not attached to the PPP, the government is blasting that union. So the teachers are coming up against a government that doesn't like their unions. Dr. Hines, do you think there is a logical reason for the silence of the coalition? Please respond. Thank you, sir. Silence of the coalition on what? On what issue? The coalition holds a press conference. Well, I mean, the PNC holds a press conference. The AFC holds a press conference every week. So I don't think they're silent. If you can tell me what issue are you talking about? Are you talking about the issue of the teacher strike? I don't know. If I get the issue, then I may be able to answer. Doctor, if the union cannot do the people's work, then the leader should resign. I'm talking about Patrick Yarn. That is a logical conclusion to arrive at, Orin. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. If the leadership is not doing the work, then the members of the union should put leadership that is better to serve them. I don't know. I have never been a member of a union, so I don't know the state of unions and how union membership operates. But you see, incumbency is always an advantage. If you are the leader or part of the leadership and you go into an election, you have an advantage. Incumbency, people know you, you have name recognition, you control the machinery. And so everywhere in the world, incumbency has its benefits. And that may explain why we don't have turnover in the union leadership. And the other thing is that young people, who are the ones who should be pressuring the older people to step aside, I don't know that young people are union members. And even if they're union members, I don't know that they take an active role in the affairs of the union and the leadership of the union. And so I think the combination of incumbency and the absence of young people who want to lead, and who have an interest in leadership, I think that may explain why we don't have the kind of turnover in the union leadership as we would have seen in the past. I remember in the past when you had union elections, they used to be hotly contested. And I don't get that sense these days. These days I get the sense that many times they're looking around to find people who are willing to run for the top leadership. And so young people are alienated from trade unions as they're alienated from political parties and so on. And that may explain it, there's an alienation in the society. David Hines in politics, donkey years. David Hines in politics, donkey years for nothing. Yeah, it depends on what you mean by nothing. I am not, I never got into politics to become a leader or for perks or anything like that. I got into politics from a social conscience position. And that is why I never became a professional politician. I pursued a career, and I tried to marry my career with my politics. But I didn't get into politics to become a leader of anything or to become a minister or anything of that sort. It never entered my mind. Yes. If you're in politics and you have ideas, as I think I do, you want to be in office, to put those ideas into practice. So I am not against being in politics, being in office and all of that. But that's not what I wake up every morning and think about. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about is, of course, Guyana and the plight of the Guyanese people. And the first thing I think is, how can I contribute to easing that burden? I don't start off by saying, I wake up this morning and I'm trying to see how I can get into power, to become the leader of this party and all of that. I do not come from that political tradition. I do not come from that. But don't get me wrong. I am not against public service. I'm not against being in leadership and all of that thing. I'm not. It's just that I am not, that's not my original motivation. I got into politics at age 15. It was at the level of village politics, and by the time I was 16, 17, I joined the WPA. And what motivated me as a teenager was social justice. Social justice. Social justice. And it never occurred to me that you start at the point where you say, I want to be a leader, and so on. I think people like myself do give leadership without being the top leaders. So I lost the person who said I'm in politics for long with nothing to show. That's my answer to it. Yeah, that's my answer to that. The coalition, let me see, the coalition was bought out by the oil companies to be quiet, hence their silence. The oil companies have the capacity to buy out everybody, not just the coalition. The oil companies have bought out the government. And even if they buy out the coalition, they are in opposition. But they've bought out the government too. I don't know that they've bought out the coalition, but they've bought out the government. The government is demonstrating that every day. The government is demonstrating that every single day. Mr. Jack Dio is a bad man when it comes to everything. But when it comes to Exxon and oil, the man becomes timid. There's a wonderful article by JHK Lal, which I posted on my website today, that you all should read. Let me see here if I can bring it up for you all. Let me see if I can bring it up. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Badman, Barrett, Billboard, Jack Dio, timid when it comes to Exxon. Barrett, Billboard, Jack Dio. After going around about the misleading billboards that Exxon put up, he finally came out 2 weeks ago and admit that Exxon has put up some misleading bill, but you don't cost Exxon, cost everybody else. You cost out everybody else. Don't cost Exxon. Good read. If you all want to read it, you can get it on my website, Dr.David Hinds, Dr. David Hinds, Guyana Politics 101.com. Dr. David Hinds, Guyana Politics 101.com. Dr. David Hinds, Guyana Politics 101.com. All one word. You can get my website there. And it's a good read. GHK Lal, who is going to be on here next week. He's calling Jack Dio Barrett, Billboard Jack Dio, timid when it comes to Exxon. So I don't know that Exxon has bought out the coalition. I do agree that the coalition members, leaders are tiptoeing around the Exxon issue. They tiptoe around the Exxon issue. The government has been bought out by Exxon. The government, even when Exxon is not begging them for support, they go against their own judge ruling Exxon. But the question is a very important question that the viewer is raising. When you have massive companies like that, they are going to influence the politics. My party, the WPA, we have taken a different tact. We are not in the fight against Exxon. We are in the fight. We are leading the fight for a better distribution of what we get. Others are into the fight, with Exxon and so on. We are in the fight to distribute what we get equitably. We in the WPA, that's where our fight is. And that is why we were interested in Bill Clinton's comments when he said that it's about whether they use what they're getting. Nigel London is here with us. Let's try to get Nigel in as quickly as possible because, like I said, we are closing off early tonight. We're closing off at 7:30. So let's get Apostle Nigel in and start here. Good evening, Brother Nigel.
And greetings to you and your viewers. Thank you very much for having me here with you this evening. Always a pleasure to be with you all.
Yes, thank you. While we were waiting on you, I was taking some questions from the viewers. Cheryl is saying, timid when it comes to the Caucasian. He's a pussycat. hey, that is why I love being Guyanese. That is why I love being Guyanese. Cheryl says, timid when it comes to Caucasian. Brother London, there's a way in which I think our Guyanese people are exhibiting a consciousness these days.
Yes.
That we've not seen in a long, long time.
Yes.
And Cheryl is saying it to me, Dr. Hines, cut the talk about Exxon. It's not Exxon, he's timid to white people. You hear stories of white people coming and trying to tell Burnham what he must do. And Burnham would be in the office drinking whiskey with his friend them and get the white people waiting outside. My elder Guyana tell us stories of white people coming into the country, and he never used to meet them in Georgetown. They had to go up to Buxton if they want to. And that's the first thing. So he wouldn't drink whiskey and keep them waiting. He said, come in my village, come in my poor village. And when you come, you will come to my school, County High School, a little broken-down building, and they used to there, There was a way in which that generation dealt with white people. No matter how powerful they are, they dealt with them in a certain way that I think this generation doesn't quite understand. Your comments?
I appreciate that, and thank you for raising that issue, because I believe strongly that I may have been born, that I'm 50 years old, I may have been born before, as they would say, because I really do not understand how our people are kowtowing to these neo-colonialists or colonizers. And for the viewers, neo means new, and the colonizers, of course, speak for itself. These people seek to dominate and to control us from afar. And then they also do that by extending their tentacles into our territories. And I cannot recall if there's one individual, the Bar Jagdeo, who would have ever sought to attack, as he would, any white man of repute in reference to his mind. He cannot do it. He would never do it. And it speaks to how weak he is. He cannot speak the way I speak, even by saying the white man. First of all, he cannot risk doing that. It could be that he knows why he wouldn't be able to do it, because he knows who has him where he is, dangling there for so long. But our people have arisen, I must say, that in a younger generation, they're understanding to a great extent the role that these people are playing in infiltrating our land and taking our resources from it. And that is what I think is awakening our generation. But in reference to our political leaders, many of them, even on the other side, the opposition side, they're very weak when it comes to these outer bodies, I call them. And it's ridiculous, because I can say this without reservation, Dr. Hines. I have an issue with us as Guyanese always asking the international community to do something in Guyana. Guyana belongs to us. I don't want Master to do anything in Guyana. And I mean this with all of my heart. I don't have to appeal to anybody outside of the borders of my country to address matters within here. We are supposed to be strong enough to deal with our situations the way they should be dealt with, and handle politicians who don't understand what the deal is. That's my philosophy. I'm not going to ask somebody who I know has every intention of oppressing me and treating me as if I'm some third-class citizen of this world. And you've brought me to an alley whereby, I mean, fortunately for some people, you're not going to be long tonight, because I really have an issue with certain things where people are concerned. I cannot see myself asking a former slave master for a visa to go to his country. That's I pass in our local vernacular. Yeah, I pass me. How could you believe that your country is so special you have to have a visa to go there, but you could just fly if you want? It is disrespectful, and our political leaders have caused this to come upon us because they've accepted that garbage. My policy is simple. If any white man tell me to go to this country after get a visa, you can't come here without one. I'm flat foot, hardcore. That's what I believe.
Apostle London, we have had a flurry of white people come in. We had the U.S. spy chief, CIA head. We had former President Bill Clinton, and we had the French foreign minister. You have lived long enough to know that when you have three men of that standing in the quote-unquote international community, as you refer to them just now, coming to our shores, there is much more in the mortar than the pistol. Talk to us.
A whole lot more. And I would like to think, I'd be labeled a conspiracy theorist this evening, but I want to be one at this moment. Jagdio, your days are numbered. I could tell you that. Because never come to our shores in such rapid succession for no reason. They didn't come to meet Aubrey Norton. Aubrey Norton is not on their radar. They didn't come to talk to you and me. They didn't come to speak to Amanza Walter. They didn't come in to talk to Anak. No. They came to look at certain people square in the eye and to let them understand that we are well aware of what the deal is. I can recall when Congressman Ryan came with the Jim Jones situation. He came because of what he heard.
That's
and he
right.
said to investigate personally. Now, these are not the days when Jim Jones people could go shoot you in some airport. But I want Jagdio to know that when the CIA plants foot here, they would have been here before. And you know that, Barrett. They've been here already. And they've observed you long enough to know that your circle is tainted and they will deal with you. That is one time I know I'll be happy. To know that some external force can deal with this person because, or this group of people, apparently our Guyanese brothers and sisters are not yet prepared to handle them the way I know that their masters can handle them. And when you see the French showing up here, when you see the CIA here, and then with the UN and Human Rights Commission Council, they matter. The PPP is a sinking ship or a sunken boat at this moment because the people will never send certain ranks here to waste time. I know that. Jagdio knows that. Irfan will know that because he doesn't know many things that he should know. But you will know that very shortly. They're not going to come here just to talk to you and sip coffee with you. And while we're on that, I must say that of all people, Bill Clinton is one of the most racist people I've known in reference to leaders of this world. He is one of the men who had the 3 strikes and you're out. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yes, I'm very well aware of Bill's record on race.
He is one who has invested in prison for black people. That fellow.
Yes. Bill Clinton came off the campaign trail when white people were saying that he soft the black people, and he went and took a black man off out of prison who was on to be hanged and hanged him.
That's the fella. That's the fella, right?
Yeah. He has a checkered record when it comes to race.
And we do know as well that for him to show up here, and then when I would please allow me to segue here, but when I saw how they were sitting, and I have a photo to show the public on my broadcast, you have Jagdio on Clinton's right, Ali on Clinton's left, and Mark Phillips on Ali's left. Now hold on a minute.
Yeah.
What? Guyanese, you don't understand, some of you, the disrespect that these people show to us.
Yes.
Mark Phillips is the first vice president of this country. What is he doing? Sitting to Ali's left, and Jagdio sitting to Clinton's right. Which therefore, by protocol, tells you that Jagdio sees himself being more powerful than Bill Clinton.
That's right.
Because one with the power sits to your right. And his puppet Ali has to sit on the left.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But as you know, Apostle, Clinton is not a fool. And Clinton would have been properly briefed. Although he came here under the auspices of the Dominican Republic, he would have been briefed by the State Department, the CIA. And if you notice his comment, which I have highlighted, when they asked him about the contract, he brushed that off, of course, because he's not going to say the contract is, but it's what he said after. He said it's how they use the money that they're getting. He knows that that is an issue. And he doesn't have to say it as you will say it or I will say it. But you are right when you say the days are numbered. Dr. Jeffrey last night on this program said they've concluded that the PPP is a humbug. So the two of you agree on that. Go right ahead.
Correct. And from the PPP keeps selling itself out publicly. We don't have to work anymore. Those of us on the social media platforms and activists, as they label us, we don't have hard work to do anymore. The PPP is sinking themselves publicly. Even that imagery, as I said, with Jagdeo sitting to the right of Clinton, Ali left, and the first vice president and Prime Minister Mark Phillips to Ali's left, that told Clinton everything they wanted to know.
That's right.
Because presented himself as the Lord of the Room. Your days are numbered. Because these people don't accept the kind of disrespect from you. Little do you know, Bart, or I think you already know, you're seen as black in their eyes.
There you go. There you go.
You're an East Indian in their eyes. You are a black person in Clinton's eyes. And you'll be dealt with as one who doesn't understand your limits and your boundaries. That's the bottom line. Am I happy that it takes them to come here? No, but I'm happy that at least somebody's dealing with these people. So when Clinton would make the diplomatic statement about how you deal with what you have in your hand, he understands clearly, Dr. Hines. They could see it. Anybody who lands in Guyana at Timeri and drives along the East Bank corridor can see it already, that the richest country in the world per capita has the worst exit road from the airport. What are you talking about? Come on. It tells you. Clinton would have been, of course, they take him to certain places for him to see and be pampered. He knows, therefore, when he drives along, would have been driven along the East Bank corridor, he would have seen on the left and right poverty, station of this, miles of it. And then he will also see when he hits Jagdeo's circle, Anil Nandalal's circle, if you would have been there, Priya's circle, and these people, oh, so you're a different hat. Hence, he can see and he can tell for sure that the complaints are legitimate and therefore it is time to act. I hasten to announce to Guyanese that you will see action taken, not necessarily by force, but Jagdeo and others will understand and have already understood that action is coming and has already started.
It's already started. Apostle, we have limited time tonight, but I want to get your thoughts on the hearings before the United Nations Human Rights Committee. I would rather suspect that those hearings are consistent with your conclusion that their days are numbered. Over to you. What do you make of those hearings before the United Nations Human Rights Committee?
Thank you, Dr. Hines. Those hearings and the person they're supposed to represent the nation at that forum exposed exactly what the PPP is about, which is misrepresentation of the truth, being quite mendacious. They lie without cause. Because for anyone to tell me that they had Gail Teixeira had to be prepared to tell the truth is an atrocity. I do not know of any individual who has to make special preparations to tell the truth. If you are of the truth, you will speak it. And to say she wasn't prepared properly tells me a whole lot, because they were prepared. And what the line of their questions, the directions their questions took, and how pointed they were, shocked the PPP. Because the people were well informed as to what's happening in Guyana. Even the name Dr. Vincent Adams came to the fore. An individual was mentioned. They spoke about the manner in which this PPP administration is dealing with even our environmental issues, and how we handle Exxon, how they handle, or how they're discriminating against certain people. The United Nations Human Rights Committee would have been duly informed. And what is the most upsetting thing to me is when Teixeira had the gall to say that with Sue Jerome's situation, that no one reported to the police, and as a result, no investigation was launched. Gail Teixeira should be jailed for life. Forever. She should never walk the street free again. And I normally say in jest to people, all I need is 24 hours to lead Guyana. I want to be a 24-hour president. Because the people that I will deal with, you will never hear from them again. Just 24 hours I need. And Guyana would be paradise. Because I can't see her telling me that if Jagdio said, he said it, it's on video evidence that he interacts with business people, not as Minister of Finance, because he's not that. He meets with business people. Yes, I do talk to them, he said. And then he would present it to cabinet and stuff like that. And to share it, the police could hear certain things and see certain reports being leveled against his maid. And Jagdio would get off because Teixeira said that nobody reported to the police. Well, I want to ask the question tonight. Who reports to the police when Kanu goes to kick down people though to search for drugs? Does anybody have to report on that? When they go burning marijuana fields, do people have to report on that, or they go searching for it? They're suspicious of something to go searching. When police stop me or stop an ordinary Guyanese, as they call it, and want to search our cars because somebody reported that, what nonsense are you telling us as a people here? Gail Teixeira should be in jail. I mean that with all of my heart, because she has insulted us as a nation. She has made us look as if Guyana is led by morons, which we are actually, but we are not. We don't consist of morons in our society on a larger scale. Just a few of them. And I'm very, very upset at that interaction. She is an embarrassment to the state.
You made reference to the quality of questioning and the quality of the people on the committee, and the fact that Gail Teixeira did not expect that kind of scrutiny. My own thesis is that the logic of the regime change has taken them where they are. The logic of the regime change means that they feel that they are law unto themselves, then they can poke their finger in anybody's eye. They're giving the Americans what they want, they're giving the Europeans what they want, they're giving Exxon what they want, and they believe that that is enough, they can do what they want. Not the lack of understanding of international relations, lack of understanding of how big countries operate. You can give them everything they want from you. But if you are working against their interests in another way, the Americans and Europeans know that you are discriminating against people. They know that you are discriminating racially in particular. And they know because they have had colonies. And they know that after a time, those people who are discriminated against are going to rise up with or without their leaders. And the instability will affect their investment here.
They have homes here. They have businesses here.
They understand that. And the PPP, in their haste, in this drunken state that they're in because of the oil, really didn't figure that out. Pastor London talked to us.
They have, and another thing I realize is that the PPP are not convinced, apparently, that they are seeing those of Indian descent as being black. They honestly, they don't believe that. I'm telling you the truth, they don't. They believe that when they acquire a particular sum of a particular level in reference to wealth and they attain a certain status in society, that they're no longer black in the eyes of the white man. They haven't got that up here yet. And they don't seem to want to accept either that they're dealing with many racists from foreign lands who don't like black people, which includes them. Yeah. So the PPP, they're led by people who hate black people. I mean it. I could see it. I live it. And so they should be well informed that the mind of a racist is simple. They don't mind if you are beside them, just never be above them. And what the white man realizes is that with the kind of wealth that we have in our hand, Dr. Hinds, it is likely that if these thieves continue, they can become billionaires in US dollars. Mm-hmm. They can see that. And they know that if they don't stop them now, then there is no limit or there's no telling as to how far they're prepared to go. Because look at the kind of characters the PP is known to have around them. The one who was an Interpol list the other day. Look at the kind of characters they have around them. Mm-hmm. They are known to be interacting closely with criminals. That's the best they can produce. Dr. So the people have to rein them in very early.
Dr. Clive Thomas referred to it a few years ago as the criminalization of the state, the merging of the criminal underground with the state. Apostle, I have to run away to another program. Will you come back tomorrow night?
I would not mind doing so.
Okay.
to be here with you for the discussion, because I really am refreshed by interacting with you and your viewers.
All right, so you'll come back tomorrow night and we'll pick up the discussion. We have our usual guest, Dr. Vincent Adams. So the two of you will, and I think you appeared with him before. I think well, he's a Linden man. He's a Linden man. So you're all gonna be banking me tomorrow night, right? So yeah, so tomorrow you'll come back because we have to talk about the recruitment of the nurses and all these things, and you have to tell us what's happening up there at Linden, because something is always happening at Linden. All right. So viewers, tomorrow night, Pastor London is going to come back and we will continue the discussion. As I said, I have to scamper away to go and do another program, but I'll be back tomorrow night for the full session. Pastor London, thanks very much for coming on tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow night. And to you, my listeners, my apologies. We started a little bit early at 6:30. I didn't give notice. Some people were on, some were not on. But tomorrow night we're going to go. We're going to go the full. We're going to go the full throttle, and we'll take back the time that we lost tonight. So until tomorrow night, be good, be good, be good, and I'll see you then.